Welcome, everyone. We're here for another session of Productivity Power Hour. And today, I figured we would pick off where I left off the Build with Ben at the last session, where we were looking at automation and content production. To be honest, it's just like there's a lot of discussion regarding like how to make things easier for my workflow, especially when it comes to producing these Twitch streams and then turning them into YouTube videos. And then especially in the future, I really do want to do more like segmented streams where like the first 10 minutes are on a specific topic. So I can cut those up and be like a specific YouTube video series. Once again, we can find ways to get that content a little bit more concentrated and like focused so that those who are interested in specific topics can just watch that specific thing rather than feeling like they need to skip around or jump to a specific chapter. Like I think there's value in having those videos be on its own. But as a result, that means I need to free up more time to give myself the space to actually make those sort of decisions and more importantly, get that organized. And so one of the pain points that I've been having is just around the whole publishing workflow. Because to be honest, I have a lot of content sitting in different places and they need to appear in different places. But really, I'd really would like it to be as simple as like publish something, things just update. And then I don't know why it took me so long to figure this out, but we can automate things. Like automation is a thing. And more importantly, automation is available to us as regular users day to day. In the past, automation might have been something expensive because you need a lot of infrastructure to do. It's like basically having a personal assistant, right? There are times where you're like, oh, I wish there's this thing that someone would do for me every single time. And the funny thing about automation is a lot of times the thing you're thinking about doing is not difficult from like a feasibility perspective. So for example, keeping up to date my Google Calendar for the stream. You would think that, okay, that's fairly easy. Like whenever I want to update something, like I just got to go on my Google Calendar, update it. This is like a 1-minute task tops. But then the problem is that things are getting complicated with workflows. And so you're like, okay, when I update Notion, then I have to update the Google Calendar. But then if you update the Notion, you forget to update the Google Calendar, then it's like a mess. This is where automation can be quite beautiful. Is for these sort of simplistic workflows that if I know that every time something happens, I want something else to happen, I hope I can get myself in the mindset more so to leverage automation. And so given this is a session about productivity, I wouldn't say nothing represents productivity more than the concept of automation because it basically allows you to set and forget certain things, right? If this, then that. So let's go ahead and dive right in, just set up the problem and just start working on things, shall we? Let me make sure the screen swapped over. All right, great. Perfect. Okay, so as you can see, here's my usual Obsidian window at the very beginning. This is what I use to manage a lot of my work. So here we have, for example, a lot of my content. I do my planning and call out my historical data sits here inside of Obsidian. And so it's a markdown file. Everything's local first, which is one of the things I love about it. But one of the challenges I've been having with it is that I can't really push that up to the web, at least not easily, because I get data privacy, but then on the other hand, this means that it's difficult to hook up to APIs and that kind of stuff. So I can't necessarily be like, hey, when I set an Obsidian note to status publish, I want XYZ thing to happen. That's actually fairly complicated just because there's a lot to parse and that kind of stuff. Excuse me. So for that reason, what I basically come to acceptance with, right? Because again, in my ideal workflow, I could keep everything in Obsidian and I would hit publish and then it would just do all the things, do all the magic for me, right? That's not really feasible at the moment. So what do? In life? We learn to make lemonade out of lemons. And so more importantly, cut that second half of the sentence. So what we're going to do is we're going to go all in on Notion because it's a tool that I do love from a collaboration perspective. And their API happens to be up. And I think we can get a lot out of it. Basically, there's a couple workflows we're going to be taking a look at today. And so basically some of the things that might be relevant to you. So first of all, when I update something in Notion, so let's go ahead. So you see, here's my like giant content dashboard of content in here. But the thing is that when I update the date here or add a date, I would like this to update Google Calendar. This is one of those things where once I've set it, then I'd like it to do its thing. That's one of the workflows that I want to set up so that people can have that calendar notification for those who want to set up that subscription workflow. On the other hand, though, the other one I'm actually particularly interested in is what happens if when a YouTube video gets published, we want to see how possible it is to come back and update the Notion table with the correct URL to be like, hey, it's now published, and then you can swap that and they can trigger other things. And so for this particular session, we're going to be looking at Zapier. So if you hadn't heard of Zapier before, this is I would probably say with relative confidence, this is the most popular workflow automation tool that exists on the market right now. If you're in iOS, you might think of shortcuts if you're using that. And another popular alternative that, well, I can't speak to how popular it is, but I know that a lot of people really like it in my circles, is N8N. And so I just want to give them a shout out for their work. I was doing some work with them for a while regarding synchronizing Telegram stuff into Obsidian and trying to create files and stuff. And this is incredibly powerful as well. But for the sake of using a tool that a lot of people are either have heard of or more familiar with and require less code, I think for now we're going to play around with Zapier, see how far that gets us. And then maybe in the future I might consider either migrating as my workflows get more complex. And so to show you just a quick idea of what Zapier is, for example, basically you have the ability to create what are workflows, which is what they call Zap. And here are some existing ones that I currently have, where it basically reads from an RSS feed. And every time an RSS feed happens to update, it will then post that update to a specific channel. And so that's an example of something that's automated, right? Because once again, it sounds easy, right? Oh, there's an update. Let me go in and copy it, copy paste. How hard is that? It's not difficult. But you don't want to be watching the RSS feed all 24/7 and trying to figure out when to post certain things. So this is where automation is particularly beautiful. Now that we have an overview of the solution, again, the main difference I would say between N and Zapier right now, for most people making those decision points, it's going to end up probably being a pricing point limitation, because Zapier, being the most popular one, is understandably they charge for the premium experience of having all the UI and integrations they get, because they're, I would say, a top tier automation workflow at this point, because so many people know about them. If you have a service where you want to do automation, you basically can't skip Zapier, because Zapier is used by so many people. On the other hand, N8N is one that's come onto the scene recently. It has the ability to do, it's open source, you can self-host it. So this is where I said pricing could be a big difference, is because if you're running a lot of executions or require some really finesse code and that kind of stuff, N8N I think is really everything you could ask for. I haven't looked exactly at the comparisons, but it's probable that the integrations between the two are a little bit different. So there might be some integrations on Zapier that might not exist on N8N, just because, again, I think Zapier has that sort of like first class or like top tier. This is the first place everyone goes to do automations. That said, I've already done some research. At least some of the popular ones, like even if I wanted to do right now, like Notion, Google, YouTube, all that stuff, that does already exist on N8N too. And once again, for the purposes of just getting started, getting something up and running, we're going to go with Zapier. If at some point we hit a limitation where pricing might become an issue, or more importantly, we might need more advanced things, or heck, if we just want to learn something new and try something different, then we might re-implement all those things in N8N and actually that allows us to do like a comparison of what you get with N8N versus Zapier. So today, let's go ahead and dive right into Zapier, shall we? Okay, let me close this stuff up. The first thing first we're going to want to do is figure out how, let's do the Notion to Google Calendar bit. So let me just check this off, check. Okay, we're going to try to figure out if we can get the Notion API to update Google Calendar, and how much of that UI, how difficult that is to set up. So the first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and create a Zap. Once again, a Zap is just another word for a workflow. Okay, this is pretty cool. There are some built-in triggers that simply you can schedule that Zap to start. So these are essentially cron jobs for my developers. Webhooks, start the Zap when another app sends a webhook. That's pretty cool. I didn't realize that was possible. So that would mean you can kick off a workflow as a result of another thing. So it's almost coming from my background. So if a Netlify deploy gets built, for example, you could then trigger a workflow to do certain things. So it's interesting that you could flip it around. Normally, I would think that when you do something with Zapier, it's more like it's watching something and then it kicks off. But that's cool. That's available. Anyhow, all right. So we're going to start with what the trigger event is. In other words, what is the first thing that starts to kick everything off? Let's go over to Notion real quick. And this is what we want to do. So inside of Notion, we are going to want to trigger it every time, okay, a new database item is created. This is going to make me nervous, and I'll try to explain why later, because I'm a little concerned. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. So I'm just going to sign into Notion real quick here. No magic here. I'm just going to sign off of it over here just to make sure. Let's see. To make sure just no PII information accidentally shows up, which is always just a further delay for me when it comes to publishing stuff, because then I just have to scrub it and everything. Here we go. All right. So there we go. Oh, there we go. Log in. Okay, so I've just logged in. Zapier says it wants access. Select the pages you want to select, and then edit That's fine. Okay, so let me select the pages. And so for me, you can see here, let's see, I have a content dashboard. That's basically what it is. That's all I want Zapier to have access to. And that's nice. Great. Now it has a content dashboard. Perfect. Now we're going to have the trigger. So in this database, what do we want to do? Database required. This is the database. I don't understand. It is the content dashboard. If you don't see your expected database, please share that it is shared with the same integration. Is it because it's already inherently a database? Is that why? I already authenticated that one. Okay. So part of the problem may be that the content dashboard already exists as a dashboard. So let me go ahead and refactor this real quick. Let me just move some stuff over. Wait, hold up. Let me try this. Here we go. So there we go. Okay, let's say I made a content dashboard page. And then this, I'm like, does it have to be underneath of it? Is that what it's trying to say? So let me do, instead of dashboard, I'm going to call this a content database. So I'll do the content.db just to be a little nerdy here, .database. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm going to go back to my account, and this time we're going to, let's see, use in zero data. Sure, connect a new account. I'm basically trying to re-authenticate it and get the right permissions. Hey, Ghost Cat, how's it going? I'm doing well. Excited to be here doing more streaming, and then more importantly, starting to actually put some work into this workflow that's been tripping me up for so long. Okay, here's my content dashboard. All right, we see that. I've selected it, and then we allow access. Boom, boom. Okay, great. Continue. Database required. Content database. If you don't see it, this is unfortunate. It's supposed to be easier. Content.db. Clear. Enter a value if you don't see your database. Okay, I'm going to say custom. Content.db. Okay. Continue. We'll find a recent database item in your account to determine that it is corrected. Yeah, no, it didn't like it. So the path of the database UID should be a valid UID. Instead it was content.db. Okay. So let's go back. I have a theory. So what it's actually probably trying to get is this URL right here. So if I copy that and drop that here, this gives me this ID right here, which I think is what it's looking for. So assuming the Notion API just couldn't fetch that, this is probably what it's looking for. Test trigger. Nope, didn't like that. Fascinating. Okay, so why can't it find the trigger? Okay, so we're going to do, this is live debugging. Okay, if you don't see expected database, please check that it is shared with the same integration. Yup. Can only access the, oh, with your bot integration. Oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. Because when we come in here, Zapier bot integration can edit. Yeah, it's there. It's 1,000% there. So what is going on? Why is it? Click on share. Invite to share with your internal integration. Okay, if I go back here and share it. Bot? Yep, select an integration. This one. Invite. Yeah, it's here. Yep. Okay, let's refresh. Try again. Database. No options at all, which is frustrating. I think you chose both Content Dashboard and Content DB. Maybe that messed something up. All right, Cookify Media. All right, let's see. So you're saying that I selected the, like, this is the ID, isn't it? This is what it's supposed to be, I believe. This hash, content.db is this URL. So let's do this. Let's bump this over to the left real quick. And then, if you don't expect the database. Please share. It definitely has the permissions. At least we've seen it. Yep, we don't like that. We don't like this. So why? That is the question. And then the test trigger, find a recent database item. And the thing is, I've actually should be a valid. Okay, you know what? How about this? Let's do Notion database UID. How do I get that? So where do I find it? It looks like it's long hash v long hash 2. So it is the view ID. Okay. View database. Oh, my content. Maybe. Oh, wait a second. Maybe it's this, and that this needs the Zapier bot. Oh, I think that's what it is. Hang on. If that's what it is, it's because my content dashboard was actually already filtered by my content. Woo! All right, I messed that up pretty hard. All right, so I actually had that right to begin with. That's okay. There we go. There's the my content. So silly me, I had the wrong database, which is totally fine. Okay, we got this. I can clean that up later. We got it. We can test a trigger on it. Okay, so we found productivity power hour 16. This is great. There's a lot of statuses on there, a lot of properties. I'm hoping we can access this programmatically later. Great. This looks really good. Now, once I've created this new item though, again, this is where I'm a little concerned though. It says, then what? Then I want to go to Google Calendar and I do want to go to Google Calendar and I want to create an event. Oh, what's a detailed event? Okay, actually, hang on. I don't need this anymore. Pop that open. New database. Wait, did I jump too far? Close Windows. Trigger. Oh, okay, here, we're over here. Okay, which calendar do I want? Yep, I'm in my Ben Code Zen calendar. This is great. I will reconnect it. One sec. Yep, connect my bencodezen.io email. Perfect. Allow. Okay, there we go. Now we have the account. Setup action. So insert field. Okay, this is great. So we can say productivity power hour, just like that. And then description. I don't have one right now, but that's fine. This is nice because what we get here is the ability to select from the database field. So this is actually really powerful. I'm actually pretty excited about this. And then we send the calendar over to Google Calendar. So we need to create a new calendar. What calendar? This is what will be created. Oh, to test Google Calendar. Okay, fine. Test and continue. A calendar was sent to Google Calendar. Retest and review. Okay, I'm so curious. What? Okay, hang on. Here we go. Okay, so I got this calendar event. Yes. That didn't work. Okay. No. Weird. Okay, so here's something I'm like already thinking is that if I can create a new event, oh my gosh, it said create calendar. I'm so silly. I was like, this seems like there's not enough information here. Okay, great. Okay, great. So let's do that. Now we choose a specific calendar. Okay, now it's much better. So we can, let's see, Ben Code Zen schedule. This is what, okay, I was going to say, I was like, there's not enough details in there. How the heck does it know what to do? Okay, the summary, once again, the summary can just be, let's see, description, notes, publish, tags, type, edit time, parent type, status, last edited. Okay, so these are all database fields. So it's fine. So let's say it's the description, insert data. Okay, once again, what are we inserting? Inserting new database item in Notion? No. Create a detail thing, right? Once we do that, we have a summary. Okay, this is good. We have the summary. Oh, technically this is the description, but it doesn't matter. So this is the description. Okay, this is the title. It's fine. And then the location here can be not the URL. I have recording URL. Do recording date. Recording URL. Here we go. Great. Insert data. I don't need to insert anything right now. Is this conferencing? No. Start time. Okay. This is where I'm curious if this will actually work. So in Productivity Power Hour 16, we know that productivity, oh wait, this is the Ben, this is the build with Ben. So let's go to all of the calendar things. Let's grab the Productivity Power Hour 16. Here we go. So there's a record date of July 7th, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 10:30. So that's a recording date. Okay, so we have something there. So let's go ahead and look for the recording date here. Perfect. But no data. Oh, that's not great. We are not repeating it at all. This is probably not going to work. It's interesting that it doesn't have a date though, because according to this Productivity Power Hour 16, there definitely is a recording date, and then there's a start and stop time. So this is a little sad to me. I wonder if it's because it's arranged and it doesn't know how to read it. That would be one of my guesses. And then color, attendees, visibility, sure. Choose value, no. Free or busy, busy. Minute before reminders. Where are the required fields? Look, it says to continue, finish the required fields, except I don't see like the red asterisk or whatever. It's not all day. Yes. Default reminders. What else do I have? Reminders? No. Minutes before reminders. No, I'm not doing that. Okay, so is there anything else? All right, whatever. Start date and time. It didn't like that. Okay, so once again, recording date is here, is no data, and I think that's why it's yelling at me. Okay. All right, let's try something real quick. We're going to go to Notion. This time we're going to, whoops. Let's see, Twitch, sorry. I have two windows open. All right. A valid date and time. See the help doc for more information. Okay. Once again, we're gonna just see. So Notion clearly has a field here. So what if I disable the end time? And then just to make sure we see something update, be like new content, like that. Okay, so now if I go ahead and refresh the fields like this, what this should mean is that we should see an updated title. No, apparently not. Is this the right ID? Let's see. Sarah, copy URL real quick. Let's just see real quick where the URL is, like that. This is still not the UID. This is like a thing. Okay, let's see. It doesn't see this part though. And that's what's a little bit concerning. Okay. Description. Where's the description? Here you go. This is my short description. So now we should have data in here. So now I can come in here and refresh the things. And when I do that, does the description get updated? It does not. Is it because this is a test? Is that why? Okay, let's just try something real quick. Okay, so today is the 11th. So like this, and then let's just do 11, like that. Is that good enough? Okay, fine. Okay, so we have some stuff. Clearly it did not like the way the date was formatted, which I would say is a little concerning because the date picker on Notion is part of the reason I enjoy managing the things through there. So that's fine. Let's test and review. So when it's sent, okay, required, okay, makes sense. There was no, and I thought that might happen, but I wanted to see how far I could take it. Okay, so go back to the action. So we can see here that we have this field, right? And then according to the help doc, we need to be able to say, yeah, tomorrow at noon, sure. But they don't, really? That's the documentation? You've got to be kidding me. Okay. I'm going to have to just guess now. 2022-08-11-T-12, like that. And I realized actually there is a typo here. That could be part of the reason that happened, but okay, let's go. Test and review. End date times missing. Woo, this is a lot. Start. Oh, silly me. All right, and also I take my statement back. The required, apparently, all you need is really these two fields. All right, so let's say it's like this. 12, this is good. All right, continue. Test and continue. Oh no, shoot. It doesn't matter. Okay, so if this worked correctly, I should have gotten everything updated. So let me actually just go ahead and real quick just pull up my calendar, but let me isolate it so that y'all don't have to see everything else going on in my life. All right, bump. Okay, that should do it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if we take a look at this, oh, wrong one. All right, if we take a look at Ben's schedule here. Okay, it looks like that worked. We see here that 11 a.m. productivity power hour number 16, 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. This is good. That automation worked. There was some jumping through some hoops there, but we are successful. The only thing though is I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll figure this out. Okay. So what if this is not it though? Once we create the updated event in the calendar, we need a way to track the fact that it has its own calendar ID, because otherwise we're going to have some trouble. In other words, what I'm thinking is, we'll see if this even works. Within Notion, right, we're going to update the database item, and we're going to update the specific one. Oh gosh, I need to, okay, that's fine. Go. Setting, okay, because once again, we have to remember that, okay, this is cool, right? Because you can create an item as long as it has the right fields, it'll update. But there's a couple problems because one, right now I'm hard coding a date and time. That's not good. So I need to find out whether it's a me problem or a Notion problem, which we'll find out later. What I can, oh, it didn't like that. Did not like that. Can we try this one instead? Continue. What is it now? Give me an error message, silly. All right. I'm deleting this step. We're going to step back real quick because I do need to test something. Okay, so let's go ahead and call this Notion to Google Calendar. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, what I need to do right now is I need to come in here and do something else. Okay, so recording date needs to get split up. It clearly needs so I'm going to call this end date. And this is going to be the start date. And there is technically a publish date, but this way I could say, okay, this is July 7th. And on July 7th, it ended at, I usually do it for about 90 minutes. So the end time is going to be 10:30. Okay. Now those fields are good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into new database item. And let's test the trigger real quick. So how do I test it? Set up trigger, refresh fields, continue, database item C, pulled 13 minutes ago. Oh, okay, yeah. Can I fetch a new one, please? How do I test this again? Because this is not going to have the right data now. I'm like fairly confident of this. Wait, interesting. It has a recording date dot start and end. So why couldn't I set up action? Okay. New database item. Okay, show all options. So these are pulling in the recording date, but can I modify it? Recording date. Start. Ooh, that's it. Oh, that's interesting that it did not appear in the UI, that I actually had to fetch it manually. Okay, so then I could do recording, search available fields, recording date, come on, recording date end. Ooh, okay. Now this is a lot more interesting because now this actually is correlated to the thing and it's properly managed by Notion rather than me splitting it apart. So that's good. I'm happy to see this. So I'm actually going to make sure this gets saved. The only thing I need to fix at this point, though, is, okay, so we got all this stuff. Clearly, I see July 7th. This is good. So we can test and review this real quick. And once again, if I open up my Google Calendar and show you all, let's see, here we go. So if we go back now to July 9th, I don't need the LYT stuff showing up. July 7th. Here we go. This should be 16. Boom, that worked. Okay, very happy. Now, the problem is when Zapier is running this workflow, it is assuming it already has the date. But for those of you who know, when you're publishing a database item, it's not always going to have the information immediately. So I imagine this workflow would fail is like my first thing that I would think. So this is cool, but I wonder when the new database, let's see, is there any documentation on this? You never know, right? A guy can dream. So Zapier, new database item, Notion, timing of trigger is how I'm thinking of it. Connect your Notion to delay by Zapier. Timing integration. Okay. Delay after queue. Race conditions and rate limiting. Okay. That's interesting because it basically could mean that like when a new database item is created, then delay it before you fetch the information to do it, meaning I'd have to be pretty fast. But actually I wouldn't have to either, as long as I gave myself like 5 minutes. So there's nothing stopping me from coming in here and being like, apparently, okay, I can cause a delay. And let's say the delay is let's just delay for 5 minutes. We're not going to okay, this is fine. Okay, delay for 1 minute. We'll just say that. Oh, wait. Delay. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I don't define it till later. Okay. Delay for value. Delay for. Oh, interesting. So I can delay for minutes. Yep. I'll delay for 3 minutes. Continue. I'm not even going to test it. I'm going to test and review. Okay, great. Okay, this should take care of the race condition I'm concerned about, which is that once it's immediately triggered, it will try to fetch the things. But I don't think that'll save it, though, now that I'm thinking about it, because what you might end up happening is, whoa, I got a raid here. Oh my gosh, Cassidy raiding with everyone. Hello, everybody. How's it going? I see Kawa Entertainments, Zamar, hello, Ian, Douglas. Let's see, Jax, Wingmat, Connor. Oh, everyone. Hello. How's it going? We are here working on content workflow automation stuff because it's a lot to get the Twitch to the YouTube, and then the YouTube to the Notion, and the Notion to the calendar, and then the calendar to update, or then the Notion to push an update to Netlify. And so I was talking to Ian actually earlier this week, and I realized I should really be automating all of this stuff. So we're trying to see what's actually possible. Yeah, I see Vibing Cat, Captain Jack, what up? All right, for those jumping in, at this point, what we're trying to do is get Notion to actually update Google Calendar. So you can see here, I'm managing like my schedule and stuff. So I'd like to ideally be able to schedule everything in here, and then once it's triggered, it would then go and update Google Calendar. So there might be a limitation to how much automation this can do because there needs to be two-way syncing on this end, but one thing at a time. Okay, so we've gotten to the point where we have the new database item, it comes in, right? And then we create a detailed event. We've gotten that to work. In fact, what I do need to do though is change this because I had reverted it earlier. And it was basically the problem we were dealing with was that I had a recording date. It wasn't showing up in the UI when you were trying to pick the start and end date for the calendar, which was causing some issues. But it turns out it just didn't surface the subfields, which I thought was a little bit weird, to be honest. But if you typed it out, because basically if you were already aware that those subfields existed, you could then look for it. But otherwise, it didn't surface organically to you, which again, weird. Hello, it's Kelky. How's it going? Yes, appreciate all y'all joining from the raid. Okay, so we have that, bum. Okay, so to be honest, I'm going to do though, I'm going to delete the delay and just figure out how bad this is. Okay, so this is good. Okay, continue. I'm just going to publish the Zap. So this will go live. All right, so Zap is published. And so great. So let's go back and take a look at what Zaps we have. All right, here we go. My Notion to Google Calendar is on here. And let's take a look at the details or history. We'll find out. Oh, I didn't details. Okay, connected apps, that's fine. Zap runs. Okay, here we go. This is what we want. Because if all is good, area should be blank. Good is blank. All right, let's go. So the way to test this right now is we're going to create a new item. And let's create it for today because I haven't done it yet. Productivity Power Hour. This is the 14th one, I believe. And then we'll just say this is a content workflow automation. All right, then I'm going to go ahead and update the recording date to be today, and then with an end time included. And today I started, I believe, at 2:30 p.m. And then it's usually for about 90 minutes. So let's just say 4 p.m., just like that. Okay, that's set up now. I'm going to, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Where's my Notion? Here we go. I want to grab this URL because that's the recording link. And sure, I'll drop that, call it a live stream. Okay, so this is probably like how I roughly normally do it. Or I could open this up and be like, oh, description. We learn, oh, actually, I'll copy directly from here, from Obsidian. Also, for those who have followed my journey of trying to figure out how to automate from Obsidian to Notion, that kind of stuff, more or less, it's how I say this. It's proven to be more work than it's worth. And so I still want to keep Obsidian as my source of truth for everything as far as like drafting things, writing it out, the final content of it. But honestly, it's just there's so much to leverage when you have built-in API and hooks for things to automate. And so I think Notion will continue to be my source of truth from a publishing perspective. So until it gets into Notion, honestly, it probably won't see the light of day. And so that's what we're figuring out. Okay, so what I've done here is I've updated all my stuff. And let's see, okay, this is the Ben Code Zen. Fine. Now here's my theory. My theory is that Zapier will have already detected a new database item to have created, but I believe it will fail. And the reason for that is because I think it's going to kick it off immediately, and then it will have no data to push. Ready? Here we go. Let's find out if my hypothesis is correct. A pseudo maze. Oh, I'm the YouTube you're sitting to. I did not realize that was a thing, but yeah, apparently, yes, I talk a lot about Obsidian, and I do plan on creating more Obsidian content. So hello. Okay, so this is interesting. It did not create anything, and it did not run. Why? Okay, so this is, I would say, worse than... Okay, let me manually run it. Manually running it, looking for new items. Okay, so it did do it. Okay, so let's see what the runs were this time. Maybe because I am currently on the free plan, maybe there's just like a delay. So let's just figure out, I'll chalk it up to that right now. So it found one new database. What did it find? Oh, okay, it found the content automation. This is good, found the start date. Okay, hey, this is good. Part of the problem though is, oh yes, okay, great. It did it so beautifully. Look at that, it's so exciting. This is the one I think I created at one point, but it's so pretty. That's good. It is exactly the right time, and this is good. So that's exciting. Coding Guard, I'm doing something last stream, updating his Twitch schedule using Google Calendar. Okay, that is pretty neat. 0x. Yeah, the Google Calendar bit, it's a tricky thing because here's the thing now. This is now the problem that I was actually going to solve, but again, one step at a time. The other problem is that if I update said Notion item, it now has no way to find that this event has already been created. So this is still not a perfect workflow. Like as far as like the software development lifecycle and stuff, like we did one very specific thing, which is like new item. I haven't even proven the new item trigger gets caught yet, but at the bare minimum, the workflow worked as anticipated. So that from a product development perspective, that's a win. So the next step here that we clearly need to do is we need to figure out if there's a way to make this workflow a little bit more effective. So in other words, what I'm thinking here is so it'd be like Google, or I'll say GCal ID. I'd rather spell it out. Google Calendar ID. Okay. What I'd like to see, to be totally honest, is that in the Zap for this workflow, that it actually tells me details, history. Can I edit it? How do I edit it? Rename, duplicate, delete, edit, view. I guess view, Great. I gotta say though, I would not have expected view to be the right thing. I guess they're trying to say that you're not always editing. You just want to see the whole thing in context. But anyhow. All right, let's go to edit mode. So edit, here we go. Once an event has been created in Google Calendar, what I'd like it to do is update the Notion row that it came from with said thing. So with Notion, right, I'm going to update a database item. Let's see if it works. Okay. Go, choose account. We're going to go, it's already used in one Zap, so that should be the correct one. Continue. Okay, so the database we're looking for is in here. Okay, the item here, okay, this is where this is going to be important now, is we're looking to update, oh no, I want to update a dynamic value. I don't want to update something specific. Like this is going to update a very specific item. I would not want that. Oh, okay, perfect. Woo! Okay, let me explain. I see some comments I will address in the chat. So what happened here, if you're working with Zapier, is this is looking at all the existing items in your database, which is fine. But if you click on any of these or select any, these will be fixed to the workflow, and basically this is not going to work the way you want it to. What you want to go to the custom fields, and this is exactly what I was hoping for, is that you're going to be able to then choose the dynamic value that's fed from the previous steps. So when the new database item has been created, in this case, Productivity Power Hour 16, I would then be able to grab this specific ID. Okay, this, what mean name? Name instead of date, notes, status, publishing URL, Google Calendar ID. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, it's saying what aspect do you want to update? Okay, that's totally fine. So I have the item now. Now what I want to do is I want to update the Google Calendar ID with this ID right here. Okay, this is good. That's all I want to do. So I'm going to continue, and I'm going to test and review this. Ooh, is this going to work? Okay, send database item to Notion. Great. Recording URL name. Where's my Google? All right, whatever. I'm going to publish this real quick because we're going to see. I think you said it was published hour 16. It did it. That's it. Okay, this is really cool now because, okay, test. This is exciting because I think I just did it. Okay, we're deleting this from the calendar again. That's gone. And then now what I want to do, this is fun. Wait, do I need a premium? Oh, gosh. I will say, wait, I can't publish this because this is a multi-step. All right, whatever. We're going to upgrade. Upgrade to starter. Oh, they're committing you annually. Okay, see, this is what I was talking about. The limitation on Zapier for, I think, a lot of people will end up being cost. And don't get me wrong, for the work that it's doing for me, if I were to hire like a person to do this for me, super, super expensive. It's just one of the things where you have to know what you're committing to. And so once again, for the sake of repetition and reiterating, if price is an issue, I do think N8N is a phenomenal alternative to Zapier. It's just that we're just using like the most popular tool just to show how it might work and how most people would probably feel more comfortable working, because N8N could be considered a little bit more higher learning curve for those who aren't used to doing this kind of work. As Sudo, let's talk about something Sudo is bringing up here, which is very much on the productivity realm. Is Sunsama, I want the home page. I don't want you to. Can you log me out, please? So to answer your question, I say that I've tried. I've logged in and played around with it a little bit. So what Sunsama is, just so that everyone here gets a little bit of preview of it, it basically is a revamp on to-do lists and a new take on it, where it tries to do sort of integration things similar to what we're talking with Zapier, where you can pull different tasks in, but it organizes it in one place. So you can, rather than having to like duplicate your content, which is one of the issues that's currently happening with productivity systems. For example, like at work, we use Notion to manage a lot of our tasks, but then let's be honest, when you're trying to manage your life and all the different tasks you have, it's a lot to be like going to Notion for like your work stuff, and then maybe going to Trello for your like projects, and then going to this other thing for one place. And don't get me wrong, part of the reason we go to these different tools is because it gives us the ability to leverage what they specialize in. In other words, for example, Trello, basically got really well known for their ability to create these Kanban boards that have really fluid drag and drop motions. And so that is kind of, it's gotten famous for that. In fact, that's why it's got purchased. A lot of people love using it. But Kanban boards aren't the best way to manage everything. So there are other times you might need it for other things. So anyhow, Sunsama then also does the other thing which I do, is that they don't separate your calendar from your work. Because I do think, philosophically speaking, this is one of the things that's broken about calendars, is there's a false sense of time abundance when you look at your calendar. It's very easy to go, yes, I have gaps between meetings here and there. I have time. And more importantly, the calendar does not do a good job at capturing the nuance of how people spend their time. Because just because you have a block, let's say that you have a meeting, the meeting could be productive. You might check something off during that, but that would be very hard to capture in the scheme of things. So it's nice to see software like Sunsama starting to rethink that model of, maybe it makes more sense, one, to tie them in a little bit closer together, so that when you're, and on the flip side, when you're planning out your day, because most of the time when you're planning out your day, you're probably doing it in your to-do list. You probably have a list of things you want to do, but how does that play with the other side of having your calendar, which is you might have 5 different meetings that are like an hour long each, meaning assuming an 8-hour workday, you actually only have 3 hours to do work. And so capacity planning is still something that I personally don't think a lot of software has gotten quite right. And this is, at least, I think, is a step in the right direction, which is, at the bare minimum, if you're going to say you're going to do something, at least allocate the time for it, to say that this hour block is for this task. Granted, there's a lot more to talk about in terms of productivity apps and stuff, but this is one of those things where, as for those watching this, if you're either developing new software or thinking about your own productivity, this, as someone who's been in the industry for a while and researched a lot, this is one of the challenges that I still think we still haven't quite yet solved. And so it's nice to see Sunsama helping to push that forward. And it's honestly, I've had some friends that highly recommend it. They really love the fact that those things are integrated, and it does other things too, as far as it has a whole philosophy regarding priority management. And so they basically try to help provide some of that more calmness by letting you feel more in control of things. And so for those who are interested, definitely be sure to check it out. Once again, one of its biggest advantages at this point is you can see where, for its integration, it integrates with Slack, Asana, Trello, GitHub, Jira, Todoist. And to be honest, if I'm thinking about my own workflow, that's a lot of the stuff that I often track. So honestly, to Pseudomaze, thanks for bringing that up. At some point, I probably will do an entire session on Sunsama, because there are a lot of those tools are extremely popular, and it would be nice to see how they manage it and what their thoughts are on that. So thanks for bringing that up. And that's the thing. Actually, Pseudomaze brings up a point regarding priciness of things. When you're thinking about expensive, like how expensive something is, it's easy to think about it from the context of a lot of things are free, especially when it comes to software. For those of us who are particularly in software development, a lot of things come to us either open source, we can install it, it's whatever. So even the idea of paying a monthly subscription can feel like, why would I bother doing that? More importantly, if we think about like the pricing of things like Todoist, I think is probably I would argue at this point, in all the software subscriptions that I've purchased, the most affordable software subscription that I've seen, from I think it's $4 a month if you pay annually. It's something really, really inexpensive. But anyhow, suffice to say, when you're thinking about things like automation, for example, it is important to keep it within the context of what you're trading for that. It's not merely that it's expensive, because even for something like Zapier, right? Like it was saying that if I want to pay this amount of money, like I have to pay, $20 a month times 12, there you go, $240, right? So it'd be $240 for the whole year for it to run 750 tasks a year. And so what you have to ask yourself, is that time you're saving through this automation something that's worth it? Or more importantly, if it's caused, like for me, there are quite a number of pain points. And so while $240 might be expensive from an upfront number, if you were to ask someone to pay their time to come work for you and help you do that, I think $240 might get you a couple of days of good work, assuming you're paying someone a fair rate and everything. But you're not going to have someone like watching something constantly. And so from that perspective, $240 upfront really isn't too bad. That said, again, people's financial positions are different. So this is why this one is interesting, where for $20 a month, you get 5,000 executions a month, 20 active workflows, which is quite a big difference from the starter plan that only gives you $750 on Zapier. So again, I don't think there is a right or wrong. Just understand that each decision you make has its trade-offs. And this is a recurring theme with me, but I never hesitate to pay people for the work, for the value that they provide to my life, because in some ways that's something I would like other people to do too, right? I want people to value my time when they're working with me. And so I want to put my best foot forward when it comes to valuing other people's time and the work that they've put forward. That's my little bit on paying for things. Let's see. Pseudomaze in here. I use Notion as a DB and Shallow Notes, Obsidian as a knowledge base to do it for personal stuff, and Sunsama to connect everything together. See, that's really powerful. And that's where I think Sunsama does get it right, is that you start to piece together the tooling that people are using in a way that helps them to actually get a better sense of what's going on. So mad props to Sunsama for that. And apparently you can work as tracking the number of hours to report to your employer. Oh, that's interesting. They don't really advertise the time aspect of it. So I'm curious actually to see just how far that goes. So thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate that. Okay. So now that we have all this stuff working, okay. So can I just save the draft? Save and exit. Oh, I lost that's fine. I know how to, there'll be a recorded video that will publish later, but clearly I lost a step. I can go back and fix it. But as we can see here, this Notion Google Calendar idea does work, but this does mean though that we're going to have to do some basic numbers. So let's do some calculations on what exactly we're getting out of this. So let's talk about notes real quick. Okay. So in terms of from a productivity perspective now, you have to think about what it is exactly you're saving and what you're doing, right? So at this point, how many workflows am I going to want to do? I'm going to want to say create new database item. That goes over to Notion. Oh, sorry, that was in Notion. That goes over to Google Calendar, right? And that updates the thing. That's one workflow. The other workflow is when you update the database item, and assuming that it's like a date change or whatever, it would then also update Google Calendar, which is fine. This is great. Although one could argue that what makes a little bit more sense, because that's fine. Let's maximize this. If in Google Calendar, I update the same item, that would then go ahead and update the correct database item. So this can go both ways, but unfortunately they are different workflows because they're different triggers, right? One is starting from Google Calendar, the other one starting from Notion. The other one then that we probably want to is if we delete the database item and it has a Google Calendar ID, we need to actually also then delete also Google Calendar. Because the last thing I want is to have people think that that I'm going to be on if I'm not. And that's one of the things I'd really like to get squared away. But vice versa, you could say that if I delete the event on the Google Calendar, I should delete the database item. But having done this for a little while now, deleting calendar items is actually something that's fairly easy to do by accident. So what I would rather do, to be honest, is not have that be a thing at all. If I'm really going to say that I'm not going to do something, I should take the time to go into Notion and not merely cancel the event on the calendar. So that's good. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's already 4 workflows. That takes care of updating the calendar. But then we talked about YouTube to Notion, right? And so I don't think we'll have time today to go through the whole thing. But basically, when I schedule a video for publishing on YouTube and it's published, what it needs to do is basically go into Notion and update a database item. So it would basically have to find the item. And what I would have to make sure to do is that the title of the video is matched to the string of the title that exists within Notion. That's what I meant to say. That's what we would need to do. And so that's another workflow. And then that's basically it. So it looks like I have 5 workflows that I could automate that would save me time. So know that once I edit, schedule, publish the video, everything goes out correctly. Notion updates. And so actually just to show how far this would go, especially if I'm doing a multi-step one, once it updates the database, then it would publish the website once again to rebuild everything and get the latest and greatest to people. And so this would also publish the website. And so you can see now, again, by themselves, the individual actions are not difficult. But the tricky thing is once you start getting into these like more complex workflows where you have the need to go from one step to another, honestly, having to update a database item to jump into Google Calendar to then publish a website, even for me, what I would consider myself fairly quick with UI typing and that kind of stuff, it would probably take about at least 5 minutes of mental energy to like actually get said thing done. So that's fairly significant to not have to think about it and to just, as long as I update the one thing, everything else works. So again, everything, it basically should end up with updating the website so that everything stays consistent. Okay. So 5 items. And so if I have, let's go ahead and say there are 2 videos. Let's see. No, let's go on the extreme side. Let's say I'm publishing 5 videos. Let's say I'm doing once a day. I wouldn't be recording. I have no plans to stream 5 times a week in case anyone's thinking about it. But some of the recordings might make sense to be broken up into different chunks. And that's what I hope to do in the future regarding these. So productivity power hour in particular will be broken up into some different segments so that I can cover different topics and then split them out into individual videos. That is my vision for that right now. So I could have up to 5 videos. So you can imagine like there's like Build with Ben recap. There's going to be, of course, productivity power hour, the recap stream. But then some of the things I was talking about, Monday musings, which would be more like almost like lightning talks of topics that I've been thinking about or that have been significant to me that I want to give with a very low level slides and that kind of stuff. Just get that out. And so what we might have, so this is like Writing Wednesday. I'm envisioning at this point Tuesday like this, Wednesday here. Thursday's the recap, and then Friday could be like a fun Friday video, but at the same time, I'm not sure how I would produce that just yet. So let's just be realistic. This is about right because my productivity power hour would include a Monday musing, so that's about 5 to 10 minute talk. Then on Wednesdays, it would consist of basically Writing Wednesdays would probably be very note oriented. So I'll probably dedicate a portion of the stream to some of the Obsidian content I've been intending to make as far as like dedicated content. So basically whether it's like getting set up and that way people can the course can start getting slowly built out. So that would be exciting. And that way, this is all done during the recording times of Tuesday and Thursday, but then we get 4 pieces of content that come out on YouTube every week. So this is good. So now this is no longer right. This is 4 videos. So meaning if we have, let's just do basic assumption now. If we know that we're probably going to create the database item once for every single one. Okay, let's see. We know that the new database item tends to come out with do database item Google. Okay, there's only 2 streams a week. So that's 2 per week for a month. Okay. Or sorry, 8 a month. 8 times a month. So this is 8x. Updating the calendar shouldn't really happen that often, but let's give us an error margin of, let's just say 50%. So 4 times a month, I need to update the item because the times change something different. So I'll just split these between these 2. And then more importantly, actually I said 822, that's good. Deleting the database item shouldn't happen that often. Once again, let's give that a margin error of 25%. And then the YouTube. So this is where YouTube is definitely tricky. YouTube might actually even be more complicated than this because no, I think I could do it because the title of the video 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is where it would be 4 times a week. 4 times a week times 4 weeks. Let's just assume 4 weeks in a month. So we got 16 times. So adding this all up, we get 8, 10, 12, 14, 30. So this means at a rough estimate, we have basically 30 workflows, it looks like, being run a month. And that's give or take. That's not too bad. That's well under the 750 that we're provided. And there are probably other ones, and that gives me some growing room for enhancing some other workflows that might be useful. All in all, I'm tempted to just consider using Zapier to do all this because we know that stuff worked pretty cleanly. The only thing I'm wondering though is as someone who's worked with N8N, whether or not it would be better for me to work through them just because once again, we do know that with the N8, let's compare the pricing real quick. Zapier pricing. Can we do that real quick? Great, there's the pricing. There's that. So let's bump these 2 side by side. Okay, so we can see now for $20 per month, most likely also add an annual. Then you basically get a lot more workflow executions, which is nice. And so you can see even for $40 a month, you would think they would give you a discount for that. This is literally just double the amount. So actually that's totally fine. So even at the professional level, in order to get the 5K, so the $20 here is that's significantly cheaper. You can see here, unlimited okay, in this particular case, unlimited zaps, that doesn't. Okay, so that is a difference. So zaps, once again, think of them as workflows. So at this point, it looks like Zapier or N8N will only give you 20 workflows. But again, as we sketched out, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the moment. So I'd be hard pressed to think that I needed that much more over the course. And once again, The important thing to remember when it comes to paying and choosing your services is that it's all about progressive upgrades anyways. So as I approach the limit, and I can make that decision when the time comes, it's really easy, particularly as a software engineer, to get caught up in optimizing. What if I need this and this and this? So this is what I'm going to do. So that's something to consider. Unlimited premium. Oh, wait. Premium apps. Wait a second. There's a premium apps. Oh, wait a second. Hold up. Where are the premium apps? What is included in that? Shopify sale. Oh, okay. Zendesk, Zero. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so basically it looks like e-commerce is the premium app. So that's another interesting worth noting is that the premium apps are definitely separate. So if you need those, that does matter. Connections via custom logic. Okay, so this is interesting. Custom logic path is actually something that's built into N8N. We don't have time to go over that today. But if that's really the case, like it does feel like at this point, while Zapier was great for fetching all that stuff out, it does look like N8N is really the better path to go, particularly for me. And the reasons I'm making that decision is because as someone who's played around with it before, I know what's possible. I'm comfortable with code so that in the event I need to write some custom logic to pull some stuff out of different fields, totally happy to do that. So I think N8N for me at the end of this is going to be the winner. I did enjoy my work as far as going through, triggering some stuff and selecting the UI for all that stuff. But it looks like at the end of the day, we're going to be doing N8N. I think that about wraps it up for today. So let me switch it over to the camera. Okay. So I know that today we spent a lot of time talking about Zapier and then did some compare and contrast. And so for those wondering, oh, okay, N8N, crud. Like that means I'm going to miss like all the work to be done with that. Honestly, what this means is that there will probably be another session on N8N. And so at that point, what I probably will do though, to be honest, is start setting up some of the stuff in advance just to make sure I have some of that stuff a bit more taken care of. And so we can see what's possible with it. I can enhance a couple of things, but I guess time will tell. I'm being optimistic about my free time and the ability to do this in advance. So for all we know, I might be starting from scratch as well next Thursday. So I'll make sure to update this particular session to be content automation workflow with Zapier so people see what that's like. And then the next one will be N so that we can see how that works out with everything going on. All right. With that said, it's been a lot of fun today. We got to talk a lot about content workflow automation and just some philosophies around that. If you have something in your life that could be automated, it's worth looking into these services to see if they could save you some time and headache, because we really do live in an interesting time and it would be great, I think, to see more people leverage this, because it's just a lot of futuristic TV shows and stuff talk about robots doing work for us. And in those shows, you're like manually thinking of like a robot going around and cleaning your stuff. But think about it. The fact that you have what is essentially a robot helping me to publish things, update things, edit things. Like, honestly, I think this is the kind of stuff that honestly is best suited to automation. With that said, thanks again, everyone, for hanging out, and I will catch you all next week. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.